Good morning, world.
Good morning.
So, if you didn't watch part one, go back and watch part one. This is part two of The Naked Communist, not The Naked Gun.
Starring Leslie Nielsen.
So, this was written back in 1958 by a guy by the name of Leon Skousen. We're just going to continue with the steps to destroy the United States.
Yep. Stay tuned. I'm Cedric.
And I'm Brian, and this is Cedric and Brian. Here we go. Break down cultural standards of morality by promoting pornography and obscenity in books, magazines, motion pictures, radios, TV. So again, 1958. This genie's already out of the bottle.
Yeah.
So this pretty much has already been done. So I don't know if this is just part of society just getting less prude, or if this was part of their plan. You know, because it helps break down society. We see that there are teenage boys now that are addicted to porn because they can get it anywhere they want. And the hardest core porn that you can find, free, right there on your laptop.
Yep.
So I guess they've succeeded. If we're going to look at it that way, they've succeeded.
Is this 26?
Yeah, you can do this one.
Present homosexuality, degeneracy, and promiscuity as normal, natural, and healthy. Anybody say Little Nas? Yeah, because he's just all about, he went from grinding and bumping and grinding on Satan to being pregnant.
Say what?
He had like this little thing where he's pregnant. He turns to the side and he's carrying a child or whatever he's carrying.
When I look at the elites, the Hollywood elites, the Met Gala where AOC went to, I think of the Hunger Games and the Maine Capitol. Remember that? Do you remember the Hunger Games?
Yeah.
So you had all the working people that lived in their districts, and then when they showed the Capitol, it was just a freak show.
Right.
And that's what you see now when you're looking at mainstream Hollywood and mainstream. It's like, what was the guy that was in that one band? One Direction, and he's got a purse and he's wearing a thing, and Candace Owens came out.
Yes.
It's the Capitol, guys. It's the Capitol from the Hunger Games.
And we talked about that. Every time you speak out against this, you're either a homophobe or you're a racist or you're some type of ist. It's like, no, I have certain values and principles that I'm resolute in, and I'm not going to back down from those.
Yep. And then this one speaks to you too. Infiltrate the churches and replace revealed religion with social religion. Discredit the Bible and emphasize the need for intellectual maturity, which does not need a religious crutch. We've heard this since the 60s easily. Probably before, but we were born in the 60s.
Yeah. Well, a lot of, we've gotten to the point where we talked about identity politics and how we don't want to be stuck in identity politics, but then you have Protestants, you have Catholics, you have Presbyterians, and so non-denominational churches said we don't want to follow it, so we're going to become a non-denominational church. But now they're the biggest group of churches, non-denominational churches, and a lot of these churches, they preach what's called the prosperity gospel. Don't worry, be happy. There's really no right, there's really no wrong. There's just these fine shades of gray. And like Brian keeps saying, he and I aren't prudes. We've gone through some things like that. But it's like, it's okay. But as friends, as people, we can come to each other as men and as friends and say, yeah, you know what, bud? You're wrong in this situation. Now, can I say that? Absolutely. Have I done wrong? Yes, I have. But I owe it to my friend here to call him out on stuff if I feel he's doing wrong. And so the left is saying that, well, you can't point at other people's wrong because you're doing wrong yourself.
You're living your truth.
You're living your truth.
There's no truth anymore.
Right. It's just your truth.
And that's the problem. And religious people should be staying with their religious doctrine. I mean, they don't have to be so married to it that they're causing violence. Like, I mean, we had Reformation, in different religions. Right. And obviously, the religion we won't name, there's sects going on that haven't reformed, and they still tell women they have to be completely covered and all of that. But their basis of all the Judeo-Christian religions, and even Muslim, is there is a right and there is a wrong. And you have to have a basis of a starting point.
Yes.
And then in the middle, you can find some of the gray areas, but you have to come with the premise that there's a right and a wrong.
Absolutely.
So. And then this one goes right into it. Go ahead, read 28.
Eliminate prayer or any phase of religious expression in the schools on the grounds that it violates the principle of separation of church and state.
Check. Been done.
Wow.
This was 1958.
This is incredible.
So this guy called it. He called it for what it was, and of course, the progressives just say, "Well, we're just progressing. We're you have to move with the times." This guy called it out, and he showed how you can destroy a society, and we're getting there right now. Yeah. And you create two classes of citizenship, of citizens. And right now, during the summer, we had the whites and the non-whites. Now we have the vax and the non-vax. I mean, they will find anything they can do to separate. And where they're having problems is that the black community right now, in general, are the non-vax. So they don't know what to do with that. Right. And so when Nicki Minaj just comes out, they're like, holy cow, what are we going to do now? Jeez.
Now we're going to be racist.
She's not following in line with what we need to teach. All right, and then the next one. Discredit the American Constitution by calling it inadequate, old-fashioned, out of step with modern needs, a hindrance to cooperation between nations as a worldwide basis. Check, check, check. This is what they're doing, and if you don't see it, Tom McDonald saw it. He brings it up in his songs.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's not inadequate, old-fashioned. There are certain things, like we were just talking about, that are resolute, and you have to have a foundation. Whether you're building a tower or a house, if you don't have a strong foundation, and like I always say, if you're just willing to go with the flow, that's very dangerous because you never, look at the last 2 or 3 years, you never know where the flow is going. Because what was cool in 2018 wasn't cool in 2020.
Yeah, you got to go back to your structure. Yeah. And the Constitution, the reason that it was such a great piece of genius that was written by all these men is because they took history. They looked back at what went on with the monarchies and things like that. And George Washington gave up a monarchy basically and said, no, we want to give this to the people and people need to rule. But it said you cannot have people rule themselves if they have no structure. So this country, whether you are religious or not, was based on those Judeo-Christian principles. Yes. And if we don't have those, then you just have anarchy. And then once you have anarchy, it has to be controlled. Then you have totalitarianism. And we're falling into that.
Who was the great coach of the Green Bay Packers in the early days? Lombardi. Back in the days, he would have all these incredible top-notch athletes, and he'd get them in the locker room. And the first day of practice, he would hold up the football, and he goes, "Gentlemen, this is a football." And he would go down to the very basics of everything and start from there. And I remember the love story about John Wooden, for those of you who are old basketball fans. John Wooden, he would take all these incredible athletes like Lou Alcindor and all these guys and teach them how to tie their shoes and how to double knot and how to put their socks and how to... the basics. You start from the foundation and then you go from there.
Yep. And this next one fits right in with what's going on this past year and a half. Discredit the American founding fathers. Present them as selfish aristocrats who had no concern for the common man.
They were common men.
I know, this was written in 1958. No, I mean, they were the upper crust, but you know what? They were fighting for the common man. And this is exactly what things like the 1619 what's it called? The 1619 Project. It's what it's doing. It's trying to go back and just discredit all of that. They're just taking a page out of this book that this guy wrote, 60 years ago.
Well, it's been the mantra of this administration, build back better.
Yeah.
So that means you have to tear down everything that's been done and start all over again.
Yeah. And I know we're going through this fast, guys. I mean, we just got this and we're looking at it and we want feedback from you. But it's funny how this guy called all of this stuff out and we're acting surprised when the progressives are just checking off the checklist. Okay, what did this guy write? Okay, let's do that. All right, let's do that. Take prayers out of school. Good, we got that. Let's discredit all the founders. Let's take down. How about we take down some statues while we're at it? Yeah, let's take statues. And they won't do it. The politicians they're too savvy. They let people like Antifa do their dirty work for them.
Right.
So.
This one's powerful.
Yep.
Belittle all forms of American culture and discourage the teaching of American history on the ground that it was only a minor part of the big picture. This irritates me because I'm speaking as a black male. When people come to me and say, "Well, Seth, you're not into the black culture," I go back even further than that because to me, music was like in the '60s with like the Temptations and the OJs when music was music and those people talked about love and family and structure. Yeah. And now you have. We always pick on WAP and stuff like that, like, hit it and quit it and shoot them up and bang, bang. And that's not culture. We've completely taken that, what used to be a culture and used to be something beautiful and honoring, and we've completely just watered it down and made it something vile.
Well, and going back to the biblical stuff, he's the biblical guy in this, Sodom and Gomorrah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you have to have structure in a society, and we're going to get that because he called out one of the next principles, which we'll get into, but you basically need a structure, because once you have chaos and then everybody does, and what was it, Lil Nas, he was on a podcast I just watched, and he was basically saying, because he said, F the kids. That was his thing. It's like, because they were saying, you know what, you were part of the kid culture, and he says, F the kid. It's about me. You only have one life. I don't know if there's an afterlife. I'm going to do everything that I can to be happy. It's like, wow, if everybody does that, that's Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
You know, that's not how you have a happy and healthy society.
Support any socialist movement to give centralized control over any part of the culture, whether it be education, social agencies, welfare programs, mental health clinics, etc., etc.
Yeah. So
support any socialist movement.
that's what they're doing.
Oh, jeez. Does that mean like the freebies, like welfare and stimulus checks and all that stuff? And
Yeah. So that's what your AOC.
Yeah.
What is she? She's the champion of supporting any socialist movement. You know, tax the rich.
That's what we're doing, and me and Brian keep bringing this up. What's going on at the border? Why are they coming over here? Because they're being promised a cradle-to-grave, taking care of you system, whether it be free education, free healthcare, free this, free that. Why wouldn't they come in here? And in turn, you get a chance to vote. Now, if you got free education, free healthcare, free this, free that, who are you going to vote for in the next election?
Guess where they're not going? They're not going to Australia.
Oh, right.
Australia, now they're making camps, quarantine camps. That's some scary shit.
And
man.
our thoughts of it, we've gotten a lot of comments from some of you from Australia. Oh, yeah, Melbourne.
Thoughts and prayers go to you guys, man. I can't even imagine. So this one, we're almost there. Discredit and eventually dismantle the FBI. So they may be doing it to themselves, but I think they're getting a little bit of help by all of this politics within the FBI. It should be separate. Yeah. So now we're going to lose a form of policing to help us police ourselves. And if we have another terrorist attack, it's supposed to help with that. And now, on both sides, we're discrediting this FBI guy, because I guess we're just not vetting him well enough. Right. Or we just let politics get too deep into it.
Yeah.
So, again, check. This guy wrote this in 58. Infiltrate and gain control of more unions. Check. They've already done that.
No, they've already done that.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Look here in our own state of California, where the unions gave so much money to one of our candidates and not the other.
And this one's going on right now. Infiltrate and gain control of big business. Can you say big tech? They've already infiltrated.
Google, Facebook.
Yeah. It's just the arm now of the Democratic Party. I mean, it blows my mind. The reason why I wanted to do this is because whenever I see something that was written over 60 years ago and is so relevant today, you just have to talk about it, because we shouldn't be surprised. But the fact that our education system stinks, because even when we were going to school, good thing there were Saturday morning cartoons that taught you, a bill becomes a law, with the...
They signed your bill.
School of Rock.
Now you're a law.
All right. Transfer some of the powers of arrest from the police to social agencies. What does that sound like?
Oh, gee. Wasn't it last summer when they were saying, don't send the police officers out. Yep. Let's send out the social workers with their clipboard and their pen as they deal with Nuck Nuck and Pookie as they have guns pointed at people.
1958, guys. They're just going by this playbook. Wow. They read it. They said, communism, how to destroy the USA. Let's just start following this. And they've been following it year after year. And then this last summer just brought it to light. And this one was a crack up, because that's exactly what they did.
It says treat all behavioral problems as psychiatric disorders, which no one but psychiatrists can understand or treat. Yeah. No, sometimes you need a cop to come out. Yeah. Because sometimes just having a gun in your hand will alleviate a lot of problems.
Exactly. And here we go. Another BLM slogan here. Discredit the family as an institution. Encourage promiscuity and easy divorce. So that first part, discredit the family as an institution. Go back and watch one of our earlier videos, like a year ago, where we talked about it. And it was even at the, not the Smithsonian, it was the museum.
Oh, yes.
The African American Museum.
Yes.
That family is white. It's a
white institution. Being on time, setting goals, stuff like that. That's all white stuff.
Yeah, but they even said, and then Patrice Cullors even said, we want to tear down the family unit or whatever.
I don't know the exact date of this, but for a long time, the term irreconcilable differences wasn't even a part of the divorce lexicon, because you're married, you're going to have differences, and they're going to be irreconcilable, but you just push through them anyway. But now that's grounds for divorce.
I know nobody's encouraged to stick things out. Part of it is because people like that newness. So the newness wears off, they'll find a reason to move on.
Well, yeah, the honeymoon period is going to subside no matter what you're doing, whether it be a new job, a new relationship, no matter what it is. It's going to weigh out. But then you get to a point where, we were talking about this a couple weeks ago, where you got to find something deeper to sink your teeth into and seek your roots into.
And there's two types of people. And I would say if you, the type of person that knows that you like to move on from, you're kind of a relationship nomad, you just want to keep moving on, then great, don't have kids.
Right.
Don't do that.
Right.
It's easy. But right now, what percent out of wedlock kids are born out of wedlock now? Especially in the black community.
And I know you brought this up. What's going on in Texas? I'm not going to speak right, wrong, or different about the whole abortion thing in Texas, but it can be absolved by one thing: stop having sex with people that you have no intention of having kids with. A good friend of mine used to tell the young kids, middle school and high school girls, remember, keep your feet on the ground. Well, some guys, that's their favorite position. So that doesn't do any good. Stop having sex with those men. Stop having sex with those women. You can't say, oops, we had a kid. Now I'll have my 5th, 6th, or 7th abortion. I don't want to get started on that.
All right, 41. Emphasize the need to raise children away from the negative influence of parents. It kind of goes into what you were just talking about.
Oh, my goodness.
So that was in this book about communism. Emphasize the need not to have parents in kids. So we've pretty much done that in a lot of the communities.
Take away the influence of the parents, so who gets to have that influence? The state, media, songs. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, let the state raise it. You said earlier, Hitler Youth. Get those kids away from the parents who may be against it because they were older, and put them in these indoctrination camps, which we call schools now.
Yeah. I hate to talk about the whole pull-out fiasco of Afghanistan, but you let someone like Biden, his pull-out game is very weak, because if he had pulled out properly, Hunter wouldn't be here today. So I wouldn't trust that man about pulling out, because he knows nothing about it.
And then the second part of that, attribute prejudices, I'll just leave it there. Attribute prejudices to suppressive influences of parents. So again, they're saying that you got to get them away from the parents because the parents might have their own thoughts, and the thoughts are different from the state.
Yeah, that's so simple. It's like saying the reason unemployment is so high is because people aren't working. Well, yeah, of course. How
about this one? Create the impression that violence and insurrection are legitimate aspects of the American tradition. That students and special interest groups should rise up and make a united force to solve economic, political, and social problems. BLM.
Yeah.
Right there. So again, it's right out of the playbook.
Violence and insurrection are legitimate aspects of the American tradition.
Remember, before it was peaceful protests, but then when there was violence in the summer for BLM, but Kamala Harris was bailing people out of jail.
Yeah.
Those were violent.
Yeah. But then that renowned reporter for CNN, Chris Cuomo, says, where does it say that people can't protest violently?
I know. Well, according to this, there's 45 ways to destroy the United States. They're following it. You do violence. And of course, I know what some people, if you show this to people on the left, well, what about the insurrection? They're using that term as a real insurrection. Remember, nobody was armed on the great insurrection of January 6th, right?
Yeah.
And the only person who was shot was a Trump supporter.
Yes. Yes.
But anyways, I still hear that, and I got mad because I heard Fox News say the deadly January 6th insurrection. Deadly. It's like one person died. No. And then the other people died of, we don't even know what causes, days later. So again, how can you call that deadly and you don't call all of the actual deadly riots that happened before?
Well, there you go, doing whataboutism.
I know.
Gotta stop doing that.
Well, that's it for these because, again, a lot of those, they have to do with Russia, and they're not timely, but we wanted to bring up the ones that, oh my gosh, you can just, if you haven't seen this article, I'm going to put the link, and just go look at it because you're just going to be going, wow, we shouldn't be surprised. All we had to go look for a paper from 1958 and say, oh yeah, they're just going down the list.
Yes. Yes, and I have to say this. I think it's a good segue because as you guys can see here, this was done in 1958 and it's coming to fruition today. So things are getting rough and they can get a lot more worse. You have to be prepared.
Yes.
Are you guys prepared? Do you have enough food, water, and other essentials to get you through tough times? If not, check out My Patriot Supply. They're the nation's #1 preparedness company, and they've served millions of American families just like yours. Right now, you can save 25% off their popular 4-week emergency food kit, which will keep you well fed for 4 weeks worth of breakfast, lunch, dinner, drinks, and snacks, totaling over 2,000 calories a day. This food stays fresh for up to 25 years in proper storage, so it will be there when you need it. In fact, you may need it a lot sooner than that.
So don't wait. Go to www.preparewithcedricandbrian.com. That's www.preparewithcedricandbrian.com. Right here.
Act
Right
now, because it's getting worse out there, ladies and gentlemen. All right, you guys, hope you enjoyed part 2 of that. If you didn't see part 1, make sure you go back and watch that because we had some incredible information on there as well. In the meantime, make sure you like, subscribe, ring that bell, and share this video and all of our other videos with everyone you know. Until we see you guys again, please be good to each other. I'm Cedric.
And I'm Brian. See you later.